40 years ago, a friend of mine built a new engine for his car, and he got a cam and lifter kit from Memphis. I forgot what cam company it was, but he ran that for 30 years, and then 10 years ago we rebuilt his engine, put a new cam and lifter kit in it. These are I kept the cam and lifters out of his engine because I don't have any wedge parts here, and I need something to mock up every now and then. And so I kept his cam and lifters. This is the new comp lifters. Now, of course, when you see that height difference, you worry right away about, is this going to work? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the cup is higher just because the lifter is longer. The cup could be lower or higher or wherever they put it in there. But they're hydraulic lifters. They're supposed to work, right? Everything's going to be fine. Something else is a little weird. This is what I consider normal from 50 years ago. It's just a hydraulic lifter. And you have preload. You don't worry about that when you see how that moves up and down. So when you run mechanical rockers, you preload this X amount. And I think the book calls for something like 81 thousandths or whatever. But it'll work within a wide range there. And when you're running stock rocker arms, they aren't adjustable. So you just bolt them on there and they're supposed to work. They're going to be somewhere in that range. But here's what kind of threw me off on these lifters. The seat floats in there. I'm going to have to show you this. Hopefully you can see that. See how the cup is right at the top, like you're thinking? But then when you put it in the engine, look how it sunk down. So this is I don't know how you're going to set the preload on that. I mean, do you have to pump them up first or something? I'm sorry, but I don't have the answer for this. I mean, since we're not setting preload anyway, we're just bolting the... Don't ask me how this is going to work out, because I really don't know. When I was editing this video, I didn't like the way this part was shown. See this part of the lifter that moves? It's all one piece. And this new comp lifter, you see it's two pieces in there. See that part sliding there? Watch it slide down. See, this confuses me on preload. With all the lube on the cam, the cam and lifter installation lube. And now it's time to install the lifters. Oil up the sides good. And then do the face with the lube. And we're going together. And it slides good. Everything should be wonderful, right? This comp lube's a little gooey, but in this application, gooey is good, right? I'm not going to make you sit through all of these, but you get the idea. Now you just use whatever you want to use for extreme pressure lube to put in the cups. You can either brush it in, put it on the end of the push rod, or a little of both, really. I know it's overkill, but I just want to make sure everything's lubricated. I know, and you know, that even though I didn't say it, I oiled up the lifter bores with oil on my finger before I put those lifters in. But I have to say it if I don't show it, because first-time viewers may not understand. Oil, lube. You know what I mean? Use what you want on your pushrod cups. I do oil and STP mix. And even though this may look like I got the job done, I still do the end of the pushrod before I stick it in there, just because. I won't make you watch me do them all. Now we do the push rods. I dip one end. All you're doing is the ball here. Lubricating the shaft is not doing anybody any good. Do one end, and then I do the other end and drop it in. Have cleaned up the rocker arms and oiled the shafts and the rockers. There is a left and a right rocker arm. As you see, that is offset a little bit and that is offset a little bit. This is because the lifter bore spacing is 1.8 inches and the spacing between the valves is a little over 2 inches. You know, I don't really think that I'm the right man to do a wedge top end video, because I really don't know anything about a wedge top end. I'm having to learn as I go. So we have a left and a right, and we've got a spacer in between each pair. And these bolts, these are the two long bolts because of the oil passage in the head. And these are the three short bolts. But you can't really put that together backwards because it obviously won't fit. You'll have two long ones and three short ones. And I lubed up the valve tips and the rocker tips. Once you get it started, once you set the shafts on here, you'll just have to walk them down. You don't want to be tightening this end all the way and trying to bend the shaft and everything. You have to bring the shaft down equally. And then as you're bringing it down, you're looking down here and you're coming down equal, and you just tighten it up until you get, some are going to be at max lift, like so it looks like this one's up pretty high. And then you just keep tightening till each one gets seated in the rocker arm. And once they're all seated, then you can tighten them all the way down. I think we've got them all seated now. Still some that are loose. And then when we get them all down, then we'll be able to check our preload, torque this down, and check the preload in the lifter and see if we're happy with what we have. And I'm sure we should be. Now we can look at that lifter preload. Of course, you want to check it on the base circle. You don't want to be up on the ramp. And it's a little different because of this inner and outer thing that's confusing us instead of the regular kind. But you can see how far we're in, which looks about, I'm guessing 100 thousandths, somewhere near that, 80, 100. But you can see where we are in the range. Now watch it move down. I'm pushing the rocker down, and you see we're about maybe a third of the range. So yes, everything should be fine and dandy. See, all that worrying for nothing. Now I guess we're ready to prime. I'm going to pour the oil in the front here through the distributor hole. I don't want to wash our pretty comp stuff off, so instead of dumping it on here, I'll just come in the front. Okay, I think we're ready to prime. As you know, when you're trying to prime, the top end of a big block Mopar doesn't get any oil except when the cam is in a certain location. So first, when I start to prime, assuming the hole is not lined up for either top end, we'll build up oil pressure in the engine block. And then I'll slowly turn the engine until the oil holes line up. You'll see the oil pressure fall off because it's filling up the one of the other sides. You can't see but one because of the view here, but we'll be filling up one side. And then it'll build up and you'll see it stabilize. And then I'll turn the engine some more until the other hole lines up, and you'll hear the same thing. You'll hear the drill speed up because the resistance was less because it's filling up with no pressure to one side. And then when it fills up over there, then we'll be back to normal pressure. It should bypass at around 55. We'll see how it goes. Boy, this side was lined up, wasn't it? Wow, what a flood. Of course, you only get a... This is not real in when the engine's running because the oil holes don't line up but for an instant, less than that. And so this never would have happened if they weren't lined up. So now we'll have to turn it to line up the other side. I think we have plenty of oil here. Wow, what a flood. Okay, let's go to the other side. Oh, I see some oil coming down. I may have gone past it. We didn't hear the drill drop off, so we didn't notice. I may have to back up to line that up. Now I have the other side lined up. And you can see the flood of oil coming down. These blocks that we use nowadays are 55 years old, some older. And I worry a lot about more, lifter wear. You can rebuild a motor and you can bring everything back. And in the old days, we could hone the lifter bores. Mopar used to sell 5-over lifters. And you could hone the lifter bores out and bring them back into spec. But I can't complain about this one. The stock oil pump's supposed to bypass at 45 to 55. And when you pull the trigger, that goes to 50. So that's right on the money. But notice how we got 45 there. And, there's really no gusher around the lifter. I mean, I realize we're static now and we're not running, but I've timed a lot of engines that had a lot of leakage past the lifters, but I mean, this one really looks good. I don't know what this drill is turning. That can't be more than 300, maybe 200. I don't know. So that'd be 400, 600 crankshaft RPM. But, I'd say that block's really good in the lifter bores, which is very important. after I put that stock oil pump on it, I got to thinking I would never tell anybody to do that. I'd tell them to put a high volume pump on it just because everything has more clearance nowadays than it used to. Then the guy says, well, this is a fresh rebuild. Well, that doesn't matter. Nobody rebuilds today as tight as Mopar put them together to begin with. So you've got more clearance, and you've got 16 lifter bores, and they all have more clearance. And normally there's a lot of oil coming past them too. So, but when I get it on the test stand and run it, if it doesn't have 20 pounds when it's idling at 180 degrees of oil temperature, then I'll put a high volume pump on it like always. But I'm kind of amazed at how good this looks here.